Hi, Jen here from Jen Michelle Coaching, and today I want to talk about opening your heart to magnetize what's meant for you. For those of you new to my channel, I would love to invite you to subscribe. I release a video weekly. Notice if you're being led by your mind or even that instinct in your gut, and really filter that, right? Because when we are being led by the mind, we can just have all kinds of crazy scenarios and exaggerations enter that will influence us to react to something overly, harshly, viscerally, urgently. But when we start to drop into our hearts, there's a steadiness and there's a wisdom and there is an intelligence all of its own that begins to just bring a remembrance almost to us, where it's like, okay, this is not making me feel stressed or in urgency. But when we're in the head or even the chest, right? I always share with people, don't breathe through your upper chest, because it activates like a stress response and it can put us in urgency mode. But when we kind of drop everything into the heart center, we start to filter in a different way. We start to connect to a steadiness and to the higher self, right? To our higher expression, where there is a safety within that communication. And so that's a space in our bodies in which I invite all of you to lean into, to deepen into that self-trust. But if we tend to really be stuck in our heads, or if we tend to really be caught in the chest or feel disconnected from our body, all kinds of, just willful actions and urgent actions can occur when it would have been best to slow down. And so if we can kind of hold ourselves accountable to dropping into our bodies, to really feeling into something through the heart and noticing the difference in terms of timing and steadiness that offers, we begin to open and we begin to realize that we don't always have to do something. And there is a really beautiful quiet power that gets activated in that when we pay attention to it. Soften your own assumptions and projections and stuff that you put on another. This essentially means deal with your own triggers. Meaning, if someone is activating me, or if something is making me feel insecure, not good enough, in survival, that's always an opportunity to go back in and manage those emotions within myself. What is this trying to show me? Why am I threatened by them? Where am I projecting my stuff on them and making them responsible for the way I feel? And where do I take that deeper self-responsibility to manage what's going on inside of me? Because as we all do this work, we begin to clear all of the stuff that's hidden within our own psyches, and we begin to create something new, right? But it requires us to manage where we are making broad assumptions, exaggerations, and projections about another, when really it's pointing us back to ourselves and our own healing work. So as we learn to soften our own edges, and yes, sometimes we may have to speak a boundary or let someone know when something isn't okay, but we want to be able to filter that so we can see where we are inadvertently reacting to our own trigger versus when we need to communicate. So it really becomes like this process of feeling into things and taking a deeper feminine accountability and self-responsibility for what's going on inside of ourselves. So we are opening our hearts, not closing them and finding all the reasons that it's a good idea to do that. Because when we have open hearts, we naturally attract and draw in what's meant for us. But when we're closed off and we then go into more survival tactics to get our needs met, we don't have that beautiful alignment that comes with just attracting from an open heart. Number 3, trust something bigger than yourself versus being led by the ego. The ego is going to always be like, this is what I want. This is my need. This is, what I want to do. But when we trust ourselves to feel difficult emotions, and when we trust that what's meant for us will come in through that courageous heart opening and staying present for ourselves, we begin to attract from a very different space. So it's like, I may want to go buy this, but My husband may want to use that money for the family in this way. So am I in service to my ego or am I in service to my family? And, which part of me is going to win that battle and what am I feeding, right? And so it's like that self-accountability where it's like, okay, I need to do the right thing here. And in doing the right thing, I trust that to come back to me tenfold because it's aligned and it's right and it's for the highest good of all. It's not just me giving into the whim of an impulse. It's almost like a child, right? Like my son may want something right now, like a little kid who can't filter it yet. But as we grow in awareness, we begin to see that fork in the road and we see the clear choice. I can feed my small self or I can do the right thing. Which part of me is going to win? And as we allow ourselves to grow in alignment and openness and trust and surrender and integrity, we are guided to something bigger and more expansive that looks like a loss to the ego in the moment, but is actually a massive win for the soul, right? So that's kind of one of the tricky things about this, where the ego views loss, the soul often views a win. And can we bring those aspects of ourselves together to really grow and evolve past our willful parts? So this becomes a heart-opening practice that will naturally draw in the people, the things, the experiences, the work, the purpose that's meant for you. It's not through strong-arming it. So if you could use support on this, I have a new offering, which is business mentorship for those of you that just want to create more of a soul-led business and even just connect deeper to what purpose means for you in this life. I will link this offering below. And if it speaks to you, I invite you to sign up for that one-to-one conversation with me to see what clarity and support I can offer you in your unique situation. Sending you lots of love and see you next week.